A lot of people who sacrifice to become successful don't actually know how to live. Now, I've wanted to make this video for a long time, and I'm going to primarily gear it towards the men who have sacrificed a lot of their 20s, building their empire, grinding their life away, to reach a point where they actually become affluent, and yet they don't know how to design their life in any way, shape, or form. And it's so sad to see. There's this one buddy of mine, I'm not going to say his name, obviously. You know, he's a great guy. You know, he's a cool guy, and he has a lot going for him, and the person that he is quite tremendous. Like, he can blow anybody out of the water, any competitor. He has a really nice car. He's a solid guy. He has a great girlfriend. You know, he's quite built, and he's running an online business. But the thing is that when I talk to him, when you're talking to someone and they don't have that light in them, they don't have that spark in them, they don't have that fire, it's not just people who don't have a lot going for them. You know, it's not just people who are lazy, who are broke. No. Sometimes it can be people who actually have a lot of affluence, who actually have a lot of influence, who have built themselves to a point where they actually have assets. You know, they actually have a mission. The problem is that they don't think about how to optimize their life at a certain point. Like my friend, he's 32. Like I said, he has a good girlfriend, but he's tired of the winters here in Canada. It's 7 months. You know, he's 32 years old. His girlfriend is a bit younger, and, you know, he just locked himself in a mortgage and a house here. And that's not a bad thing. Like, if you want to have children, I understand. But it's just like, it's a dangerous age because he spent all these years make something of himself, and he did. Like, he has millions now. And all he did after all that was just to spend on a mortgage in Canada on an overpriced home with a girl. But the thing is like, why? Well, there's so much more that you could have done. You could have taken all that money and you could have put it into a villa in Thailand instead. Now, I'm not saying everyone wants to live in Thailand and travel, but come on. Like, there's got to be some sense of exploration here. Like, you clearly are not enjoying your life here as much as you say. Like, even I've heard from what he's told me, like, he's tired of the winters. He just wants to get rich and move, and he's already rich. The point is that you missed on the window. Like, you missed on the window to design your life, to optimize your life. You know, if you give me $1 million, I'm not going to spend that $1 million on a bloody house in cash in Canada, in Calgary, in a suburbia, where I don't even want to live there for like 7 months out of the year. Instead, you can give me $1 million and I'll spend $70,000 on a van, a really, really, really nice van with an interior, with a bed, with a kitchen, with a bathroom. I'd have that in Europe, okay? I'd probably buy a 1 or 2 bedroom villa for like maybe 300,000 to 400,000 in Thailand, and now I have like 600,000 or 500,000 left over. I just put it in investments or back in myself, and I'm making either money passively or my business is growing. The smallest life optimization. Like, he wanted to go to, he didn't even want to go, but his buddy had a bachelor's in Scottsdale or Phoenix, Arizona, and he went, which is great. I'm glad he did. But he also shared the thought of, like, it's kind of an inconvenience because it takes away from the grind. And it's like, brother, you're going to Scottsdale, Phoenix for 4 days for a bachelor party. You're gonna enjoy that. You're gonna regret not going. And he could have had tickets to the World Cup in Mexico City. And he even told me on the way home, he said I could have went, but I didn't. And at the end of the day, everyone makes their decisions, but it's like, why? Once you get money, once you have to optimize, you have to spend it correctly. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations where you're seeing different perspectives and opportunities for yourself to live life. I mean, if you want to settle down in a suburbia in North America, go right ahead. But have you at least went to Portugal to try the coffee shops? Have you at least went to New Zealand in a camper van to explore the mountains and see what else is out there? Have you at least went to Japan and tried some of the food? You know, have you actually tried to learn a little bit of another language in another country? These are things that you can do with money. And it's like, I'm telling you, why would you spend your 20s slaving yourself, embarking yourself on a journey just for you not to enjoy it? Like, what's the point? Alex Hormozy. Like, I love the guy. I love getting business advice from him. But it's like, you saw that interview he did with Tony Robbins where Tony was just deciphering him. He was looking right into him, and he was just evaluating him, psychoanalysis. And I don't know if that interview is even up on YouTube anymore, but it's like Tony Robbins fully dissected him to the point where it made Alex Hormozy question a lot of things, the way he's living. Why he's just always working. What's the point? At what point? And not everyone can do that for Alex Hormozy. So it was a serious conversation. And Tony Robbins was right. I think he said, like, I don't know exactly what Tony said, but he was just saying, at what point are you just trying to perform and trying to push yourself just to push yourself? Just to prove to yourself that you're something in this world when you're already something. When you've already worked hard. You've already made millions. You've already built a brand. Optimize your life in some way. Enjoy yourself. You have one life. And look, I understand it's hard because of societal pressures, because it sucks to be broke in your 30s, especially as a man. It sucks to not have direction. I understand it. Like, I'm not stressing, but I'm juggling these two things as well. But the thing is that you just have to, you have to have that North Star, but you have to make the process enjoyable. I was talking with my best friend in the UK about this. We are back in our hometowns after traveling the world. We're basically laying the foundations, and I'm working on my window cleaning business. I'm taking that as far as I can. My friend, he's trying out different things, trying to be a pilot, or, just embarking on his engineering degree. The point is that we've accepted that it's going to take years and like a decade to make the North Star happen. But the process is in our control to some extent. We can at least make it more enjoyable than wanting to kill ourselves in our hometowns or in the places that we live. After coming back from so long overseas and having all this excitement, all this joy, beaches, freedom, it's like, my friend, we had a taste of it, and it's a blessing and a curse because it shows us what's really out there, but it's also a curse because we're self-aware enough to know that we have to beat the game. But we also have seen the other side of it. So it's like we know what we have to do, and it absolutely sucks because we've experienced the end point in quotations, but we have to make the process enjoyable. Because the process is going to take years. I told him, what if we die? What if we die trying to make it and we restrict ourselves from living to our fullest potential? He told me, he said, Simon, at least I tried. At least when I die and God or whatever the hell is out there reviews my life with me, at least I can say, well, I've tried. And it hit. Because we know our goals. We know the destination. You have to know your North Star. But then there's that process, the process of micro missions. And it's going to be so brutal. Not even physically, but just psychologically and spiritually. Because it's like, exactly where you want to go. You know what it tastes like. You know what freedom tastes like. But you have to put yourself in the system. You have to play the game in order to complete it. And I'll tell you, a lot of people, whether it's musicians, whether it's authors, whether it's people on YouTube, they're living in their van or they're off grid or, they're actually pursuing something meaningful, they're traveling, whether it's luxury or not. A lot of these people figured it out later. They figured it out in their 30s and their 40s, but the point is that they had to go through the whole journey. They realized it at that point, but it took them years and years, but they still built themselves. They still accumulated assets. Like that doctor online, I forget his name. He literally was a doctor in the US for multiple decades, making, I don't know, however much, hundreds of thousands, millions. And now he just lives in nature because he figured out at 40 that it was like a midlife crisis for him. He's like, why am I doing this? But it took him a long time, and most people, they figure it out later. But to those of you who have figured it out early, it's a blessing and a curse because it sucks. It's not supposed to be you, but you have to enjoy the process in the first place. And it's like you have to optimize your life at a certain point. And I'll give another example. Obviously, James Bond. I honestly forget the person who wrote it. It's on the top of my head. It's this famous British guy. But long story short, this guy spent all his 20s, like he came from old money, but a lot of his 20s was work. He served in the British Navy. I believe he was also in the finance industry. This is in his 20s and 30s. And he accumulated enough capital to, in his 40s, buy a villa in Jamaica where he really loved to go. Like he used to travel to Jamaica and he bought a villa there where it was his holiday home. He would go in the winters, every winter, to escape the UK clouds because you guys have crazy weather out there. There's like never any sun, especially in the winter. And then his friends who have heard from him year after year after year, they heard that he was going to write some sort of novel, some sort of movie, or, just some series about this superhero or about this villain, James Bond, aka. And his friends, they thought it was a joke because it's like every single year he's saying he's going to do it, but he's not. They dared him to do it. And he also dared himself at the age of 42 to finally take it serious. So he went in that villa and he wrote down the entire James Bond series, I believe in 8 weeks or 12 weeks. I could be wrong. This is facts. You can look it up. So it took him till 42 to actually optimize his life and give him that inspiration to pursue the journey and the dream that he actually wanted to do. And he did it. Look at James Bond. It's one of the most famous series. It's one of the most famous series in history, in modern film history. And that was because he optimized his life. Another example, I used to want to be a music producer since I was a child, like a rap producer specifically. And it wasn't until I was maybe 21 where I actually pursued this thing seriously. Filming content every day, making beats every day while traveling, learning the industry, connecting with people, trying to do it online, all that stuff, right? And it wasn't until I was 22 where I was 23 actually, where I joined an online community run by someone named Half. Shout out to Half. And this guy, he had platinum records, gold records, wrote multiple hits, or at least produced it, and was basically had this community of producers that he was giving his knowledge to and helping them govern themselves in the industry. So obviously this guy's massively successful. He's traveling now. He's rich. But he made a post on Instagram and he said, at 29 years old, I'm making a new chapter for myself. And it's because I've actually neglected myself. I've actually just put my head down behind a screen and grinded and made music and made stuff happen and went in the industry and networked, and it made stuff happen for him, and he achieved the status, the riches, the plaques. But he neglected himself. He neglected optimizing his life. He neglected peace. And it wasn't until he actually decided to move to Japan and start traveling and being a digital nomad. This is when he realized it. And that's a perfect age, and I'm so happy for him that he realized it, because it's like you have to optimize your life, especially when you've been sacrificed for so much. And it's like, why waste it? Why waste it on a life you don't actually want to live? Why waste it on a woman who you feel you might slightly be settling for? Why waste it on a woman who's not actually your dream woman? Why waste it on a country that you don't actually want to live? You have to really think about this stuff, especially along the way. When you're going through that process, it's like you have to make the process enjoyable, because it actually gives you a glimpse on the life design that you actually want. So just keep that in mind.